Well, we finally made it to Friday. Halloween's in the back door. Did you get any good candy, Keith Riggs?
No Halloween candy this year.
Ah.
Nope.
You guys hand any out at your house? Or is it busy?
We live on a one street neighborhood with no young children on the street, so we get none since we moved into that house.
Do you miss it?
A little bit. It's kind of fun to have the kids come through. Yeah.
Yeah, I do definitely. My wife, every year, like last year, she was dressed as a clown, sitting on the very front porch with three or four different bags of stuff. She loves it. She absolutely loves it. She got music playing and the whole number. So we had some last night. Well, no trick or treat for you guys last week. Pretty simple as you go beat more 56-14. And I mean, there are a lot of really good performances. You had a couple of seniors, a receiver and a tight end catch touchdown passes that I mean, they I know they're contributors to your team, but everybody talks about Katie and everybody talks about some of your other stars. I love to see those guys get their touchdowns. Tell me about your two touchdowns to your two seniors.
Well, Jack McAnally, who, if I had to choose one or the other, I'd say is primarily a defensive player. He's been a 2 year starter on defense. Was kind of our second tight end last year, and it has been working in at tight end this year. And he does whatever you ask him to do, And our tight ends aren't a huge part of our passing game. We certainly try to take advantage of them when we can, but always excited to see guys like him. And the next one, Nate Domek, who had a touchdown reception, who played the game sick. He was not feeling well the entire game. You couldn't tell it from the way he played, but got some rest over the weekend and feels a lot better this week. But he's a program guy. He worked his way up through, got a little bit of playing time last year, and has been a key part of our offense this year.
I love those guys, those program guys. Now, having said that, you got some great performances. I want to start with Owen Jones. He had four touchdowns. Of course, he and Caleb Barnett looked like they had a great connection. But Owen's a guy who early in the year, be it through media or social media or whatever, he took a pounding for some people. And I've been really proud of the way that kid hung in there. And I mean, I'm not with him on an everyday basis, but just watching him play, I see the warrior in him. You got to be proud of his performance.
Absolutely. He's a fierce competitor. He's a fighter. Um, you don't have very many quarterbacks that are wrestlers, and he has that grit that you have to have to be a good wrestler. He's been at the state tournament the last 2 years. Um, and he did. He had a couple of rough games. There's no other way to describe it. But um, as with all of our team, on those losses, they kept coming back and working hard and fighting through some things. And really proud of him and our entire team for how they managed and dealt with that adversity we had early in the year.
What do you think he's grown the most with during the year?
Well, boy, that's hard to pick. He's just, yeah, I think we've talked about it before. We've got a lot of new guys at receiver this year. We graduated most of our productivity last year with seniors last year. And so he's throwing to a bunch of new guys and, their timing and their comfort level with each other and their routes and, where they're going to break routes off and the speed of the deep ball, their deep routes. He's just getting more and more comfortable with the guys he's throwing to.
And one of those is Caleb Barnett, who had close to a career night, 6 for 195 and two touchdowns. And I saw your quote in the World afterwards about him being able to stretch the field, and obviously he did that. Just give me an idea of his performance, how this game matches up.
Well, super excited for him. It's been a bumpy, road for his senior year for a number of reasons. So really glad to see him get on track. And it takes two guys to have those big pass plays, right? Owen threw really good balls. He caught one that came back too on a penalty. So outstanding night for him. Fastest guy in the state. So, people have got to respect his speed. But he also does a great job on short routes, getting open and then making things happen. But I'm just more than anything, I'm really excited for the game that he had.
Well, it's great that he's peaking at the right time. We always hear, and it's a football terminology thing. Well, we need to stretch the field. Well, when they stretch the field, explain why, when you've got a guy who can do that, it makes things easier offensively for you, or it helps you offensively.
Well, sure. We like to run the ball and we like to have a strong running game and feel like we do, but the way teams combat that is to get their DBs closer to the box, get them rolled down, especially safeties, and so maybe get your corners in man coverage so safeties don't have to worry about the outside receivers. They can focus on run first, and so when you've got a guy that can stretch the field vertically and get behind DBs, it loosens your safeties up. They've got to worry about that deep threat, and it really opens up your offense, your short passing game, as well as your run game.
And KD Jones had 144, went over 1,000 in the second period. You have to be pleased for him. How have you seen him improve as the year's gone along?
Well, I think from last year to this year, his patience, he's a much more patient runner, picking and choosing when to explode through a hole, letting things develop in front of him. And that just comes, he's a year older, he's more mature, he has more experience, and but he's shown great patience in his running game this year.
I know it was kind of a slow start. Had a missed field goal out on downs in the first quarter, and it really started to pick up. Was that a just a hey one of those nights? Was it a travel thing? What was it?
Hard to put my finger on it, you, you love to get the ball on the 15-yard line, right, to start your first offensive drive. And we missed on a play and then had a sack. And those things are just going to happen. You don't ever want them to happen. You certainly don't want them to happen on your first drive, but you got to give Moore some credit as well. They brought some pressure on third down, and that resulted in us having to try the field goal.
What kind of flipped the switch and got you guys rolling?
Um, I don't know that it was a flip switch necessarily. I mean, we missed on the first drive. Is more than anything. I Nothing really changed. They just our execution obviously wasn't great on those first three plays, but from that point forward, it was really good.
Sometimes though, when that happens, it's hard for a team to come back, but your guys have been very resilient. And then defensively, obviously you played well because there are a couple of kids at Moore, Malachi is a heck of a player and you guys shut him down. I know Gaylor's going to get some credit for that, the kids as well. What went so right?
Well, yeah, Coach Gaylor does such a great job in preparing our kids and developing a good game plan. But our kids have to execute that game plan. They have to understand it and execute it. So, certainly a great deal of credit goes to our defensive guys, very mature veteran group. Moore has an outstanding quarterback, dual threat. He moves around really well. Kept some drives alive with his legs when we were able to get some pressure on him. So, really pleased with how our defense performed.
And now Enid coming in, and these games at this time of year, I'm going to avoid the term trap game because it's overused, and sometimes you're going to win those games unless something goes horribly wrong. But they are 2-6, and it's hard to have your kids look at film with somebody who's struggled and try to tell them that they're good. How's it gone this week, and how do you do that?
Well, you've got to focus on, your preparation. Our theme this week was focus. We've got to focus on the things that produce results, not the results, not measure ourselves by what's on the scoreboard or who we're playing. It's got to be about our performance and doing the things, all those little things add up to big performances. And so I think as you get deep into the season, like where we're at now, it gets a little easier to receive that message because you're getting close enough to the playoffs. You can kind of see them coming, and really important to not kind of stall in your progress and improvement this time in the year.
And that's one of the things that your team has always been so good at. It's that build, that climb. They were under Allen too. It's just been there. I mean, somewhere somebody's probably buying some blonde hair dye right about now because they know we're getting pretty close to it. Have you seen this team make what you thought was that continual climb? Are you happy with progress?
I am, certainly nobody wants to go through a three-game losing streak. Nobody goes into a season, with that as a goal. But I love how our kids have responded coming out of it and how they've continued to grow and get better. And, that will give us a chance for success when we move into the playoffs.
I don't know a lot about needed on film or anything else. Tell me what you've seen of them.
Well, they've had some success on offense. Their quarterback got hurt last week. I don't know if he'll be back this week or not, but he's done a really good job running their offense. They do a lot of different things on defense, so it's real important for our offense to be prepared and recognize those different things when they see them, so that we can execute our assignments.
Senior nights are happening all over Oklahoma. So right about now, no matter what, you're either having yours or you're at someone else's. When you're having senior night there at Jenks, tell me what you guys go through and for your emotions, these are guys who've been in your system forever. These are your kids, for lack of a better term. What's senior night like for you?
Well, it's a very emotional night in a good way, because you're around these kids so much, right? And from the time we get them when they come into our program, in the spring of their freshman year into off season, you get to watch them and be a part of them growing up. And it's a really special part of the profession we're in. It really is. And so it's an emotional time, but it's an exciting moment. It's their last regular season game at Allen Trimble Stadium, and that really means something to those kids. Most of them have grown up, on the fence, on the sideline, watching the older guys play, and we're looking forward to this moment when they got to be out here. And so really proud of this senior group, and really excited for them to finish off their last regular season game tonight.
I don't know about you, but considering you look around, Owaso's really been good. I mean, they had the scare, but they've been great. But I just think it's going to be a fantastic, maybe the most balanced 6A1 playoffs I think we've ever seen, at least in my time. What do you think?
I would agree. 6A1, we've talked about it before. The level of 6A1 overall, it just continues to escalate and raise. People are raising their game. You can't look at your schedule and say, "Oh, we can take a break here or there." You got to go out and play, and I love that because that's why we're in the game, to go out and compete and see how we stack up. And but I think it's going to be a really exciting playoffs this year.
Yeah, if you look around, as I said, Owaso's been great. Bixby's been doing nothing but great things. And, after the opening loss, they've been fantastic. Shaker, he can always beat you. You got Roberson at BA and Satemba, who, despite the fact they got blown out last week, never stop playing. They're warriors. They get into a hot streak. They can beat you. Just look around, and you guys obviously can. Look around. Those teams, it's going to be fun. Plus, you can't overlook the guys
Mhm.
over there. On the other side of the state, they've done the same thing, and they have those kinds of players. I just think it's going to be fantastic. All right, so I have to ask you this. I got two things before we go. I'm going to mention our specials over at Sunrise for the weekend because I know at some point you're going to want to go have a waffle because I know you're that. But I got to ask, are you a pumpkin spice guy? Because now this time of year, that's all I hear.
I am not. No, I'm not a big pumpkin fan. Pumpkin pie, pumpkin spice. It's not for me.
I'm okay. I'll eat pumpkin pie, but I'm not a pumpkin spice fan. However, how about this? How about waffles with hibiscus infused fruit topping, 2 eggs, and then any breakfast meat of your choice?
I'm all in on that. Yes.
That's this weekend's special at Sunrise Cafe, and it's only 12.99. When they say hibiscus infused, I'm a huge tea guy, and the best tea I've ever had is a hibiscus infused tea. I can imagine that. Then also at lunch, it's two chicken tenders sliders with peach jalapeno jam and their sunrise potatoes. That's next week as well for one of their specials, and then they're going to have an avocado club sandwich as well next week, and those are going to be in the 12.99 and 8.99 range. All right. So have you seen some hair dye coming out?
Not yet. No, I think that's taboo until we play our week 10 game.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we know it's going to come, and it wouldn't be playoffs without it. Yeah. All right. You guys have a good night out there at Jenks. I hope it's not too emotional.
Thanks, Rick.